All right, so we've got quite a few people coming in now. Thanks to the community for attending. We're not anything without our community members. And I hope that you learned something about blockchain, and especially Web3, NFTs that we'll be discussing today. I'd like to introduce Ola J Lind, from the CEO of FT Capital, and also the UAE ambassador for the Global Blockchain Council, which is quite an impressive little badge to be able to put on yourself there. Ola, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and FT and the Global Blockchain Council?
Sure. Can start with the Global Business Council. It's a Davos entity that started in 2017. It works with ambassadors globally in most of jurisdictions around the world. And we work with the policies with the business and with the government to see framework for regulations and improvements where a voice is needed. And that voice is needed a lot at the moment.
Absolutely.
And it's an interesting organization because it has been able to combine both business and the regulatory bodies globally, and has a strong voice in the community, in the blockchain community.
So that works a little bit like a sandbox, would you say?
In some areas, yes, and some areas is just advising and working with law, specifically in different jurisdictions. A lot of lawyers are involved and is assisting of putting up white papers or principles for how to regulate, etc.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit about yourself. We haven't heard about that.
I am originally from Sweden. I haven't lived there for 30 years. I am running and the CEO of FT Capital. That is a subsidiary of Nasdaq-listed FT Group. And live and work in Dubai. That is quite nice. But we operate in China and in US, in the UK, here in Dubai, UAE, and in Paraguay, where we do crypto mining, and same in Ohio in the US, we do crypto mining as well, but with green, 100% green energy components.
That's amazing. And it's something that I see a lot of the miners are trying to get into at the moment. Yeah. How is that achieved? Basically.
Well, in case of Paraguay, it's very easy because 100% of all energy in the country is made from hydrogen. So it's water-based, and it's very easy to certify and roll out when it comes to our crypto mining. In Ohio, it's a little bit different because you have a mix from the private power generators. So you need to make sure that what they provide to you are in certification basis of what is needed to be classified as green mining. But excellent. I think in that sense, I think there is still a lot of improvements that needs to be done. And I think with the carbon net zero moving forward globally, it's going to be more and more strict.
Excellent. So I suppose we should get on to some of the questions that we've got in regards to tonight. How would you define Web3?
Good question, because depending on which generation you are, I would say you would have different answers. Coming from my generation, 50 plus, I will give you my definition of Web3. It's the new way forward, how privacy, in my view, is the strongest part of it, and the decentralization, meaning that the power of content, the power of most of how you're going to use the internet in the future will rely with you, not with an entity like, say, Facebook or Google, etc. So the infrastructure of Web3 will be a concept, or because when we say Web3, many put it together with metaverse, for example, and so on, but the basis of it is blockchain. metaverse will be a component of Web3, but it will be a new way of, for me, in the sense of how you're going to engage on the internet in the future on a much different way than we do today, because today all contents is centralized, say Google, Facebook, etc. And they are the one who is actually having the control of your data and monetizing your data. Web3 will turn that around and put you in charge. And it's going to be an interesting ride for the next 5 years forward to see how this is going to play out, specifically with the different countries and regulations and the big private companies or global stock listed companies, and how ideas and new concepts will evolve, because every week, as you know, that we are in this business is changing.
100%. Yeah, it's an amazing thing in the blockchain world. 1 week seems like a year. It's incredible how quickly things move. It's absolutely amazing. When it comes to Web3, how does it differ between Web3 and Web2?
Yeah, like I said, Web2 is centralized. Everything comes from one server, is distributed out to content, obviously is interactive. In Web3, it will be decentralized, but it will be different components, because you're going to have both the blockchain component, you're going to have the decentralization of the nodes of how it's going to be distributed, and the private data part of it. And obviously, it's going to be other things like you're going to have for metaverse and so on when it comes to utilizing different kind of technology or headsets, VR sets, AI, artificial intelligence will play a big role, and big computing in the sense of how you're going to utilize these technologies. So it's going to be a scary part for companies, bigger companies in the future. I think how they're going to be able to monetize and how they're going to be able to change. And I think this is the most exciting part of it, because it's more about a collaboration, Web3, globally between stakeholders, and that the end user is the one who is going to dictate the future.
You've muted.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. No problem.
I think the Web3, how it's going to look, nobody knows today. But you're going to see a lot of changes. I believe it's going to be in stages, because technology is not there today. The infrastructure to be able to sustain it as the way we want it to be. We are very far away, but we are seeing a lot of interesting new ways. Specifically, what I think has assisted a lot is that we are seeing, when we went from very heavy data processing to be able to compute, we are now, because of decentralization, going to be able to uplift that to individual nodes that makes the data processing much faster and more efficient and more energy sufficient in the future. And a lot of research is going into that part, and I think that will change a lot in the future when it comes to Web3.
Do you believe that Web3 will introduce complete decentralization?
No.
That's
I don't think. Well, look at what we see with DeFi today. Everybody 3 years back, if you remember, no, we don't need regulation. We can self-regulate ourselves, etc., etc. And obviously we can't, because we are like the kids in the little corner shop that when we see all the candy, obviously we want to grab for it. So I think that component of total decentralization will never happen, in my view, in my generation, because regulators, countries, stakeholders will not allow it in the end, I think. It will be on certain playing field. It will be a hybrid version, I think, Web 2, Web 3 in the future. And maybe I'm wrong, but it's very hard to see it go completely decentralized.
No, I think you're absolutely right on that. And when you start talking about, we were just discussing it before, licensing. I think that that's going to be a big step forward with that sort of thing.